You know,
Yeah.
you never know. But
You got a great place there, though. We should have a party there. I think we should throw a party there.
you want to throw a party at my place?
I do. Yeah.
Maybe.
I'll help you organize it.
All right, I can think about it. But yeah, because I got my home office, I got that whole separate suite I can shoot in. I got the living room. It'd be much better. I've thought about it because I keep all my stuff set up at home anyway, so it'd be easier.
Now, is this all the stuff you have at home?
Mhm.
You brought it here, and then you're going to take it home and reset it all up.
Mhm.
That's impressive.
It's fun.
Yeah, that's cool. So you really enjoy production because that's what this is. This is all the production.
Yeah. I mean, it's enjoyable because it's challenging, and I'm always trying to make it look and sound better. And even like, I don't know if you noticed, but I'm starting to get into B-roll now. So I looked up on YouTube like how do you do that. So like I now think I figured it out. So
Yeah.
we can do that too.
B-roll is cool. When I go to do these historic home videos, which I hooked somebody, so I'm gonna go interview them with my historian friend, and really kind of try to lay the balance. I thought I might have to hire a videographer. So, what's your time worth?
That's included. You're in coaching, so you don't have to pay for it.
Well, one of the things I want to do is like interview them, but I will need a lot of B-roll of the house,
Easy. You can shoot it with your phone.
to be able to like narrate over.
Mhm.
So,
Are you thinking long form?
I'm thinking like I'll send you a link to. I cried. I cried watching this Architectural Digest video about this Frank Lloyd Wright house in Connecticut. I'll send you the link. It's amazing. The house is designed in this arc so that as the sun comes up, you get light, and as the sun goes throughout the day, the glass in the house, the sunlight moves with the rest of the house and slowly lights up the whole house.
Dang.
And he dammed this river. So, and he built the house with minimal removal of the rocks or the trees or anything. So it really kind of just sits in the setting. I'll get to the name of the house. I don't remember it off the top of my head, but I literally shed a tear, and Melissa was like, "You're crying? You're crying about this house?" I'm like, "What?" It's every aspect of it was just amazing. The the cantilever that he uses to make the houses so that you have less structural things, and like all the bedrooms are in the back of the house, and they're all very useful. They're all I forget the word I'm looking for right now, but they're all really small, and the halls are really thin and dark, and his theory was to force you into this very open living space that looks out on this water and on nature. And he built an observatory on top with a telescope. Like you climb a ladder and go up there, and there's a place for you to put your telescope and look at the stars at night and stuff. It's
Wow.
really incredible. So
Sounds like it.
I'm a nerd for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, you can't find that stuff anymore.
No. And if you do find it, you got to have, I've been using this phrase a little bit lately, but you got to have Jeff Bezos money. I mean, even for that house, you probably either inherited it or you have Jeff Bezos money. But, and if you're living in the woods in Connecticut, you definitely have a ton of money, right?
Yeah.
So, but it was really cool, and I just geek out about that stuff sometimes. So it was super fun. But when I've also been watching these videos to try to get an idea of how they, because it's not totally documentary, it's sort of an interview of the owners and or a historian that knows about the house or a designer, and then, but you also have like the B-roll, bringing it back. They also have the B-roll looks, focusing in on the different walls or the different artwork or the impressive chandelier or the incredible use of storage under the stairs, just and seeing that's why one of the things I enjoy about working with buyers or even just going to listing appointments. I don't know how many times I've said, wow, I would have never thought to do that. What people decide to do with their houses it's like a personal expression of themselves,
Mm-hmm.
either how they like to organize things, or I really want. I had a house I went to that I call the unicorn house. Somebody had taken plexiglass and they made a secret room, and you pull, and it was kind of, the trigger was a little hokey, but you pull on this one book and it opened like a shelf.
What?
And the shelf opened, and you went in there, and it was plexiglass shelves everywhere that were lit up. And this was for this person's shoe collection. And it lit up, but everywhere in this house, it was either covered in glitter, covered in rhinestones, or it was like shiny sterling, sterling steel or aluminum. I mean, nothing in this house did not sparkle. And so I was showing this house to a client, and they're like, "Wow!" And I was like, "Man, you come here at 3 a.m. and I bet you this place is just bumping."
Oh yeah, got the surround sound going, man.
Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, they had dropped in speakers, and excuse me, I was like, I'm pretty sure a unicorn lives here. I mean, just based on the fact that, and on the outside, there's this house in Warren. There's this little ranch with vinyl siding, and then you walk in and you're like, what's
Never would
going
have guessed
on
that.
in here?
That's wild.
But that's one of my favorite parts of the whole thing, is just kind of geeking out. My friends and I have been looking at, we send back videos back and forth about the man cave with the golf simulator. And a lot of the really nice ones, start off with that secret door.
Yeah.
You open the shelves, and then they have the bar and the golf tracker and a couple of couches and the sports, on the TV, and we're just like drool.
So do you prefer to work, or do you enjoy more working with buyers or sellers?
I like them both. There's benefits to both. And just like life, there's always hurdles with both. The thing about working with buyers is there's an excitement level there that you don't get with sellers. Sellers are usually this is a business transaction for them.
Mm-hmm.
They have a certain financial goal in mind, right? And you're trying to achieve that for them. And if you can get that for them, of course they're excited, or better. When you're working with a buyer, there's an adventure to be had. You're going out there, and especially if you're working with first time buyers, like the first 5 or 6 houses you're looking at, they have no idea. They think they know what they want.
Mm-hmm.
And I really prefer, if you get the set up the correct way, what I prefer is that you talk to me first before you do anything. Hey, we want to buy a house. Great. Let's meet. Because I actually have a program where I sit down and say, okay, here's what this is going to look like. Here's what we need to do to get started. And I have a little survey that I give them that, sorry, excuse me, I'm still suffering from the Lions game, goes through and tries to help them prioritize what they really want in a house. If you want a big kitchen because you like to cook, or some people don't cook at all, they could care less. I just need a microwave.
Right.
Are you an animal lover? And of course, everybody, let me rephrase that. A lot of people initially are like, yeah, I want 5 acres and a pole barn and a ranch with a finished basement, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, but if we can't find that,
right,
because that's what everybody wants,
Mm-hmm.
So if we do it right, I get the survey going, and then we go see 4 or 5 houses. And one of my favorite things is they're like, man, we really thought we wanted, a 3-car garage, but actually what we want is a 2-car garage and a pole barn. Or, man, we thought 3 bedrooms would be enough, but now that we're thinking about it, we really want 4. Or, but I've had instances with buyers where we've walked into a house and they've been like, this is not for us. And I've been like, that's really cool, but you can either follow me around,
right,
or you can go wait, because I want to see what else is going on in here. And so it's just really interesting to me when you get out there to human part of people trying to decide, is this a place where I can live? But B, seeing what people do with their houses. And so when you go on a listing appointment, you get a very detailed look of what somebody has done to their home and what they're hoping to achieve. When you go out with buyers, you just don't know. And I love that kind of stuff. I live by a mantra that there's no adventure without adversity. And life is boring if you don't have a little sprinkle of adventure. So yeah, you want to go see that house? I mean, I showed a house today, and I will say that I did text my wife and say, hey, I'm in a bit of a weird neighborhood. I'm not concerned, but I do want you to know where I am,
Yeah.
just in case. But like, I went into a house in Detroit one time, and I was a little unsure. When I walked in, there was nothing on the floor. You could see the floor joists through some of the what was left of the wood floor. There was one light bulb hanging from this entry room,
Hmm.
right? And it's on. Right, and we're just kind of looking. I'm like, I'm not sure we're safe in here, right? The kitchen's a disaster. Not functional. Cupboard doors, just kind of hanging on their side and whatever. And we're looking around, and we go up the stairs, and you open the door. It was King Henry would have been proud to live in this part of the house. There was velvet on the walls, purple velvet
Oh
on
my
the
gosh.
walls. One of the biggest beds with one of the biggest headboards I've ever seen. And it was solid oak. It was carved oak in this room, this antique furniture. They had a little mini kitchen off to the side. They had a bar. They had this glorious bathroom with like the one head that shoots at you here and two from here, and I don't know, you probably pull a button and it shoot water up from the floor for all
Oh
I
my
know. But
gosh.
and this gorgeous tile, I mean, the pattern tile with like it wasn't like the French Lafleur symbol, but something similar. You just don't know what you're gonna find. And we live in a world where you take your home, and it's kind of your private space, and I think it reflects your passions a lot. So I've seen all kinds of stuff. So that part I really enjoy about the buying. I enjoy the negotiations. So for buyers or sellers, it's like, hey, what do you want to do here? And I always tell people, look, this is your money or your asset, so I'm going to advise you on what I think you should do or what I think you can accomplish,
Hmm.
but you got to make the decision. So I'm trying to negotiate on your behalf. I'm trying to get you the best value. Here's where we're at. Is this something you're going to be able to work with? Do we got to go back to the drawing table? Are we going to let this fish go? For the buyers, the frustrating part has been, the lack of inventory. So even when we are out there looking and they finally fall in love with the house, the likelihood is that they've got three other people who are in love with the house. So that gets a little bit, that can be daunting, only because then you turn into, um, you know, it's going to be okay. We got to
Yeah.
try again. We're going to keep at it, perseverance. And I love moral support. I love trying to help people through that. But sometimes I've seen some people be like really, really devastated to the point that they just can't even emotionally take it
Yeah.
anymore. And those are the hard ones. I really feel for those people, and they've never really held it against me, thankfully.
Yeah. Right.
But those are the ones where you're like, you know, to some extent, I get it. You're emotionally involved. This is your home. This is where your heart is going to be. This is where you're going to hang your hat. But at the same time, you know, it's also a business transaction. So finding that ability to be like, man, yeah, that was really disappointing. I get it, but tomorrow we're going to get back up on the horse and go.
Hmm.
Can be a little bit tricky, especially with buyers. With sellers, what I like I said, you get to know those people. I get to know those people pretty intimately when you're selling, because you talk to them a lot. You're giving them updates. You get to know their houses. Some of the houses I've sold, I've kind of fallen in love with myself, but it doesn't quite have the same adventure quality
Mm.
that you get, when you're with a buyer. So I think there's pros and cons to both. I know that's a really long answer, and I like to have the balance personally. I like to have a couple of buyers that I'm working with, or, a handful of buyers I'm working with. And then I also like to have a couple of different listings I'm working with, because there's balance there. It's not, oh my gosh, my whole weekend is already booked because I have to get these buyers out there. You have a little bit more flexibility. And then with the sellers, you have a little bit more opportunity to market yourself, market their home, and get some things done that way. So it's really both. I think the part that, if to be honest, it's not the buyers or the sellers. I really like the houses. I do. I'm sorry. I'm fascinated. I really am. Even the tiny ones, I'm like, wow, they did a lot with this place.
Right. Yeah.
I can't believe they fit all this in here,
Mhm.
kind of thing. And there's been some houses that I've been like, I'm not going in here.
Right.
Like, I'm pretty sure that this is not good news.
Right.
But there's only been a handful of those. So that's the part that I do. I really get excited about it. Melissa will tell you. She's like, she can't. Again, I'm watching an Architectural Digest
Yeah.
video, and I'm like getting teary. She's like, it's an amazing house. I get it,
It's
but
passion. It's passion.
yeah.
And so, like, okay, that's all the good stuff. What about now going into this for almost 5 years? What are some of the biggest challenges that you faced, whether buyer, seller, or just real estate in general?
Well, some of the bigger challenges come. I mean, every deal is unique.
Mhm.
I've only had a couple that have been like just really like straightforward. We're doing this, bam, 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 we close, and everything went great. So being proactive, I try to be super thorough up front. And this, I think, comes from my project management background, so that when the surprises come up, it's not like just one more thing to deal with. I can focus on it and deal with it. It gets hard when the hardest thing I think I've found is that some people, and I'm not, I think in some ways it's human nature, are either unrealistic, or even after I've tried to educate them on how things are going to go, they still want to tell me, how I should do my job, or they're extremely unhappy with the results, even though I told them what was going to happen and what to expect.
Mhm.
Because I don't want to let people down. Like, if you come to me and you trust me with this, I'm going to do everything I can to get the outcome you're hoping for. I'm always upfront that I can't guarantee that. So the most difficult things I've had are when we have some either hiccups that don't work out. Most recently I had a closing that went on for like 3 days because what it really boiled down to was a lack of people listening to each other about a person's status as far as a citizenship. And everybody was trying to be helpful, but they're like talking past each other, and I'm trying to get everybody to be like, hey, and calm down. And one person's accusing the other person of not listening and being rude and whatever, and the other person, and it's like, well, we're going to work this out. And one of the things I get complimented on a lot is that I'm usually calm, trying to help, informative. It takes a lot to get me to be like really angry or chew somebody out or something like that. So when you run into that, those are the ones that really are hard. Sometimes it's hard when you on the listing side, I would say I had the most heartache I have is when we've gone through everything. I've told you what the market is saying your home is worth. And, we have that discussion,
Mhm.
and then you say, okay, but, we want, so much more. We want 20 grand more. We know our house is worth that much more. And you're like, okay, I get that. And if it's and I will try to get you to understand that may be unrealistic, and that you might have to be patient and to understand the economy, not the economy, the economics involved, that, the longer it's on the market, the more longer you're paying your mortgage, the longer you're paying your taxes, so there's a sunk cost there that even though you think you're going to make this much by putting it here, you're going to wait that much longer for you to get that money. So you're not actually making it.
Right.
You're losing it while you're waiting. So sometimes that's hard because then it turns into a situation where people suddenly feel like they are negotiating against you when really it's like I'm not negotiating with you. I'm trying to tell you what's realistic.
Mm-hmm.
And of course I want to get you the most money you can. It's to my benefit.
Right. The more money you make, right?
Yeah. So why would I somehow short you if I, were to like try to sell your house out from under you?
Yeah.
That's not in my interests and it's
Mm-hmm.
not in your interests. But people get, the way they are and that's fine. And the other thing I find really hard is like, I don't know if you've been through this before, but you get somebody who calls you off a sign or a listing or whatever, and they're like, "Hey, I saw your listing. I'd like to go see your house." So you show it to them. And they're like, "Well, what will the seller take?" And you have to kind of explain to them, "We listed it at this price."
Yeah.
And I represent the seller, so it's a conversation where my normal response is, "Well, what would you if you had your druthers, what would you pay for it?"
Mm-hmm.
And there's this back and forth, and I like that little game. I'll play the game with you. That's
Yeah.
fine. We'll get you, but I'll get you to say a number.
Right.
I assure you.
Right.
Or I'll tell you, well, you must not really be that interested if you don't know how much you want to pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens is a lot of people are like, they want to offer like, let's say they have 50 grand less. Well, and it's just a verbal. Well, I don't. Let's say just for hypotheticals, so this is easier for me. You have a house that's, a $400,000 house. You show it to somebody, and they're like, "Yeah, well, I really like the house, but I'd only pay $350 for it." Okay. Well, it's my job to go back to the seller and say, "Hey, I showed somebody the house. They seem interested. They threw out a number of 350, right? All right. Well, sometimes people are just like devastated. Oh my God, well, I didn't. Did you show them
Yeah.
this?
You need to educate them on what the value is, right? They get pissed at you.
Yeah, they get mad at me. I'm like, whoa, 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 hold on. And I usually let them feel those emotions. I get it.
Yeah.
But at the end, I'm like, well, hold on. First of all, this is a conversation. This
Yeah.
isn't an offer. We're trying to save some time on doing some back and forth paperwork. And I can always tell them to get bent. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not literally. I'll say the seller's not really interested at that number.
Right.
Are you willing to, move, or is that where you're at? And we can revisit this another time if you change your mind. So, again, it draws back to that your home almost becomes a piece of you, right? So you're just like, it's almost like somebody called your baby ugly,
Yeah, right.
and people are like, "Oh my God, didn't you do, didn't you this?" And I did. I did all of that. And this is just a conversation, and you're not agreeing to anything. Really, this is just kind of a seek and find.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, again, I say this a lot. It's not my money. It's not my house. You have hired me to take care of something that I do every day so I can make it go quickly. I can take care of everything so you're protected. You get your money, everything goes well, but you have to make this decision. I will negotiate on your behalf, but you can't act like you got stabbed in the face just because somebody threw out because there are people out there who are just going to throw numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I really like this house. You got it listed for 400. You think they'd take 200 cash? Probably not.
And then it triggers that emotional response from
Yeah.
the seller, and then the seller gets pissed off at you, and then it's just like,
and so that part can be a bit of a struggle. Again, only because I really take it seriously that I'm trying to do the best job I can for you. But the opposite would be, in my opinion, worse. If somebody I showed the house said, "Well, would they take 350?" and I just said no.
yeah,
And then you found out later that somebody had offered 350 and you might have been willing to talk about it,
mm-hmm.
then I think I would be doing you a disservice. So I'd rather just, I guess, tell you your baby's ugly
Yeah.
and let you freak out about it, and then go, well, it's really just a matter of perspective here,
Mhm.
So that part can be hard. I think my biggest fault is I really I, I find human beings to be totally fascinating. So you want them to be happy, but they always act in ways you don't expect. And that's fine.
Yeah.
I've had people where I've been like, yeah, I showed the house and I know you got it listed at 250. They're thinking 225 cash. They're like, sign me up.
Yeah, right.
You're okay. I didn't think you would take that.
Yeah.
But, and the ones that I like a lot are the ones where we're collaborative. And that's what I always try to stress, even when I'm doing listings. I'm like, if you were doing the write up, what would you want to include? Where we're collaborative, where I bring them the information. Well, they offered you 350. Oh man, we were really hoping for more than that. And maybe go through the emotions. Did you tell them this? Did you show them that? Well, what do you think? That's when I can really be super helpful.
Mhm.
Well, you know what I think? I think they really liked the house. Why don't we go back? Why don't we give them something to work with? Having a conversation is where we're going to have a meeting of the minds. So why don't we say, would let's spitball here. If they came back and at 390, would you be upset about that? I know it's a little less than what you wanted, but we're getting a deal done here.
Mhm.
Or what if we went back to them and said, thank you, no, thank you. If you could be closer to here. But that, I think, we just have a natural tendency to do that. And different cultures are way better at it. I think Americans are a little more, they're a little less forthright about it.
Mhm.
I kind of like dealing with some of the Middle Eastern cultures and some of the more Eastern cultures, because they're very upfront about the fact that this is a game
Yeah.
and this is how the game goes. I'm going to give you something totally unfathomable
Just to see how you
just to
respond.
see how you respond,
Mhm.
and then if you walk away, I might come back and be like, oh, well, hold on.
Yeah.
I really do want,
Just
that
testing you out.
testing. Yeah. So that part can be really interesting. But, back to the original question, I think the hard part is when you have to, sort of disappoint people, and it's not because of anything you really did, but you're the messenger. You're the person that they have hired to be their advocate, to be their representative, and when you do that, sometimes you're going to have to tell people you came in second.
Yeah.
You came in second, and I was able to ferret out from the other agent we missed it by 2,500. Well, I would have come up 2,500. We didn't have a shot at that. We didn't. We did our. This is what you told me was your highest and best.
Right.
So that part I find to be hard, but I do it. I mean, I'm willing to do it. But those are the ones that you're just like, man, I did everything I could, and this thing still went down in flames.
Well, whenever you get people, money, and emotion all mixed together,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not easy.
It's not. And I always try to default to the fact that most people are just doing the best they can every day, and you might catch somebody on a day where they would be like, yeah, 350, I'm all over it. But you happen to catch them on the day that they were like, oh my God.
Mhm.
Oh, this is the end of the world. It's like, well, you haven't accepted anything. We haven't taken it off the market,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what I'm trying to do is have a conversation here. We have somebody who might be interested. Is it 400 or nothing?
Mhm.
Because if it is, I'll go tell them that. I have no issue with that.
It's a great point, though, because you never really know what someone's going through or what they're going through on that daily basis or what happened to them before that day. And you and I kind of share this too, interest in stoicism, right?
Yeah.
And so kind of one of the things that meditation's obviously a favorite book, that disturbances only come from within through our own perceptions,
Right.
which means nobody can really have a negative impact on you unless you allow it.
Right.
And I think that's either a mindset people don't adopt or they're not aware of, or they just choose not to believe, because anything can happen. Some people, like if the smallest thing happens, their whole world falls apart,
Oh my gosh.
I
I know. And those are the people who are usually like the ones that are always like, you're always so calm. And, I, it's a little bit more of a Taoist thing than it is a Stoicism thing, but it's a similar thing. It's like good things and bad things happen all the time.
Mhm.
And if you're willing to accept that and understand that it's the only thing that's really in your power is how you respond, you're overall, I think, going to be putting yourself in a better position. I still have moments where something happens and I just flip out. I mean, I used to I worked very hard in my young life to control a temper issue that I had. So, but there are still moments. There are times after a long day of, negotiating with people, getting stuff done, something falling apart or whatever, that I go home and my wife sits on the chair and I just kind of rant. I just rant for like 45 minutes and I'll be
Yeah.
like, okay, I feel better. I had to let that all out because that process and that statement is very true. The issue is you have your spirit inside of you, your soul, whatever you want to call it, your consciousness, whatever. No judgment or anything on that. However you want to phrase it. There's an emotional piece in there, and no matter how hard you work, it will do whatever it's gonna do.
Mhm.
So some people are very good at controlling that, but it's still, even when they teach in the military how to compartmentalize that stuff, you still have to deal with it eventually. So one of my ways of dealing with it is just to just kind of bark at the moon for a minute and then be like, all right,
You're good.
we're good. I just, and I mean, that I can't believe that person did that and, this, that, and the other, and or frustrated with, just how one of my biggest things that I had to learn how to do was not be as frustrated with other people when we're driving. Like how many I when I was in my 20s, I don't know how many times I would scream at the windshield and check my brakes.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are you doing?
Getting ready to light somebody up.
Who am I hurting? Who even hears that?
Right.
It's just me, unless I'm on the phone with somebody and they're like, "Oh my God, are you okay?
Yeah.
Who are you right now?"
Just raging by yourself in the car.
And so I've learned very much. I still make comments like, "What are you doing? What's going on right now?" Like,
Yeah.
But I'm like, I also have lived long enough and drove long enough that I've been like, I've been that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, I feel for you, buddy. Work it out. Whatever you.
Yeah.
I know parallel parking is tough. I'm just going to try to be patient for you till you get in there enough I can get around you.
Right.
Or man, that right turn signal while you made a left, that was a little shocking.
Yeah, a little bit.
A little shocking. Wasn't expecting that. Good thing I didn't try to go around you.
Mm-hmm.
So those are moments that I really try to like practice that, kind of stoic process of, I can't control anything else but making sure that I don't die today while I'm driving. So those are the moments, But I will tell you that, my rage against deer, that should be my new band. Rage Against Deer.
Rage Against Deer, that's a good name.
Yeah. The day that I stopped to let the deer herd go by and one of them ran into my truck so hard that I saw its hooves go over the hooves go over the hood of my truck. And then it rolled and stood up and ran away. I did not have a lot of emotional control that day. That day I was like, I even looked up at God. I was like, we're starting the day like this.
Yeah.
This is how this is going to go today.
Yeah.
And it's not enough damage for me to like claim it on the insurance or whatever, but it's enough damage that I'm like, oh, man. So I still, and even in those moments, I'll be telling myself, look, you can't do anything about it. And I'm just like, okay.
Can't do anything about it. Just like move on, right?
I still want to kill that deer.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the trick, right? And I think I'm hopeful that we all are working on that. even the people I've run across who have mental struggles, who have emotional control struggles, they don't like that.
No, of course not.
Most of them. I mean, I have a large faith that most of us are trying to do the best we can every day. Everybody's best is different. Everybody's circumstances are different. And I try to apply that, especially when I'm working with people. And I tell people all the time, I was working with somebody today and they're like, well, we're looking for something $50,000. Is that worth your time? You need a house. We'll figure it out. I'm going to give you as much effort as I can, same as I would for the person who's like, I want that $800,000 lake house. That's great. Your circumstances are different. Your hopes and dreams are really the same.
Yeah.
You just want a secure place where you can put your stuff. You can close the door at night. You can rant and rave for a minute about the world. You can watch your favorite TV show. You can pop some popcorn. You can, that's I think a basic need, and people, I've my experience in volunteering and helping people in my own emotional circumstances. I really try to be, well, one of my favorites, and I know this is not stoicism, this is Micah, but one of my favorites is to do justice, love mercy, and walk humbly. And if you can do that, you can really have a little bit of self-control, but also have a positive effect. And that's also one of my main goals.
Yeah.
So,
yep. It's giving everybody a little bit of grace too. We all need it.
Yeah. Everybody. Some people need a ton.
Yeah, right.
Some people need a ton of grace.
Amount, but
and some people need to be just cut loose. I mean, my dad used to tell me, sometimes, son, you gotta cut out the dead wood. That's not a good impression of my dad, but that's what he would say.
Yeah, cut the dead weight.
And I think he's quicker to do that than I am, because I also have a theory that if you want to have friends, you have to accept them warts and all. Like, they're going to do stuff that is going to seriously make you mad.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to do stuff that you're going to be like, in what universe does that make any sense?
Right.
But that, if you want to be able to have friends, if you want to be able to have relationships, that just comes with it,
Yeah.
So,
and it's a delicate balance, right? Because sometimes you see so much good in somebody and you want to try and make it work, and you're always offering to help, but then it's either never reciprocated or they intentionally try to go out of the way to do something negative towards you or whatever it is. So it's like, yeah, you don't want to keep toxic people in your life, but at the same time, you got to award some people some grace until obviously that line is crossed, and then it's like you got to cut the dead wood.
Yeah, I was talking to my buddy Spencer about this Tuesday. I'm a little bit, I feel open about meeting new people, making new relationships. That's a great part of this job. If you're willing to put yourself out there and make the phone calls and go and just talk to people. I like that aspect of the job. And if you're getting into real estate and you're not willing to do that, don't get into real estate.
Yeah.
But regardless, that's something I really enjoy. I've done a lot of stuff talking to random people. So I'm the guy who will stand there at a NASCAR race amongst all the vendors who are trying to sell and hawk anything they can. I stand there and give out free high fives.
Yeah.
Free high fives. Yeah. They're free.
Free.
I've been at music concerts and I've tried to hawk Menudo bootlegs. I don't know if you know who Menudo is, but they were like this boy band from Latin America in the early 80s. I got Menudo bootlegs. People are like, who the hell is that? But just messing with the crowd. So just talking to people is fun. But I was saying that I'm a little protective of my tribe. Like, my group of friends. If you bring somebody new to the group, it's not that I'm going to shut them out, but I also don't give them instant credibility and trust. It's like, I got to kind of feel how you're going to fit in with us, and if you're going to put up with our crap. Mm-hmm. Because we have a long history, so we have little catchphrases and things we pick on each other about and do stuff, and are you going to be able to mesh with that? Are we going to be able to trust you with some of that stuff? Because not all of it is necessarily stuff I want on a video.
Right. Right.
This is stuff we do to mess around. And again, I don't want it to sound like it's a closed club. It's not. It's just that we've had people like come into the group and then they want like instant status in the group. And it's like, oh, you got to kind of hang out for a minute. You got to show that you're going to be there. Most of us would, if the phone call came, we'd go running through the door, to save you or get you. Or I've taken the call where I've had to go pay for the bail. I mean, I've taken oh my gosh, they were in a serious car accident or whatever. We need this. We got to do that. Somebody's sick. We take care of each other like that. So that's trust that you earn. But, there have been times where I've just been like, I've given everything I can here. And until I see something come back, it's not that I want anything bad to happen to you, but I'm not putting any more energy into this.
No.
It's just not worth it. And for some of those people, I've even sent them well wishes. Like, I don't know what's going on in your life right now that is causing this, and I hope it gets better. And if there was something I could do to help, I would.
Yeah.
But I'm done.
Yeah.
We're done here.
Whether it's a friendship or relationship, the foundation of any strong relationship or friendship is mutual reciprocation. Like, if it's not going back and forth, then it's just one person take advantage of the other.
And you have to be careful, like, especially in relationships, like close relationships.
Mm-hmm.
I think people go into it like it's going to be 50-50 all the time. And it's not. It's never 50-50. And it's partially because my best on this day might not be my best from yesterday. And I might need a little more today. So you have to be willing to have some give and take there. But you also have to be able to say, okay, I can't fix this for you. I want the best for you, but I can't put any more energy into this. This is, this is not the kind of crazy that I'm willing to put up with.
Yeah, right. Right.
I tell that to people all the time who are looking for a relationship. I'm like, you got to find the kind of crazy that you're comfortable with, because as far as I can tell, we're all crazy. It's just what specific things are we crazy about? What specific things do we have that are, some people's crazy. I met this guy one time. I never saw him again. Mm-hmm. We were in a friends group. We went to a bar in Mount Clemens, and our crazy was dangerous. Like, the two of us together, we were laughing, we were drinking, we were having a great time. Apparently, we offended everybody in the bar.
It's a sign of a good night.
I got taken aside the next day by my friends, and they were like, you owe this person an apology.
Oh my gosh.
Did you realize that you did this and you did that? And I was like, we were just having a good time. But basically, we weren't allowed to hang out anymore. So it can be dangerous sometimes, So, but, and jumping back to one of your original questions, that's also a great part of the job. But to bring it back around, I've had clients where I've had to be like, this isn't working.
Yeah.
And I want the best for you. And I think actually the best for you would be that we don't work together.
Yeah. Sometimes you got to do that.
And that's unfortunate. I hate doing it. It's pretty rare.
Yeah.
I feel like I can usually be pretty helpful. But sometimes you just got to be like, look, this isn't working out.
Yeah. So. Well, we're almost already an hour. So
are we?
You did a great job.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, this was great. I mean, I keep going if we had more space for film, but.
Oh, sorry. I didn't know we'd been talking for an hour.
Almost an hour. So now people got a better idea of who you are, which is great. Anything else, closing thoughts that you want to throw out there, whether it's advice or anything that you just want someone to find value out of?
Oh, I have lots of advice.
Yeah. We'll do another one. We're going to do more. We'll do another one for this segment.
I have lots of advice. No, I hope people can. I feel like we live in a society right now where people are very quick to anger and very quick to accusations. And if we could all offer just a little bit more grace, a little bit more step back, a little more understanding, whether you agree or not, just it doesn't have to be rage cake all the time. I think we would all benefit from that a little bit. And no, I'm excited about 2024. I hope the Lions go to the Super Bowl, and I'm looking forward to good things. I love working with you. Highly recommend that. That there's a huge value content there working with you, and I'm just looking forward to 2024. And if I can be of service, whether it's advice, just a sympathetic ear, or you want some real estate, I'm here for you.
Absolutely. I love it. So thank you very much, Johnathan Dugan.
Thank you very much.
Yes, we're looking forward to 2024. Can't wait to see what it brings. And go Lions, baby.
Go Lions! Woo!
See you guys.